Hey everybody, Dan Young here with Dan's Millionaire Code, and today's guest has been a friend of mine for almost 3 decades now, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Man, wow, man, you're looking good, you're looking strong, dude.
Well, it's a t-shirt.
So every week we bring you a entrepreneur who has endured through ups and downs and all that, built something from dirt, from nothing, and made something pretty amazing. And I like to bring in friends who have endured through ups and downs and different cycles, right? Because the world's been over 30 years doing some crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yet we're here and everything's rocking and we're doing really well. So there's just a few things I ask you to do. One, take notes if you could. If you need to watch this over and over, listen to it over, that's great. Take notes. Take action, at least on a couple things that you learn from this. And then share it with your friends and family or loved ones who you think would benefit. I think everybody could benefit from this right now with all the crazy environment we're in, with COVID, with recession, with social unrest, all kinds of crazy things happening. There's a lot of opportunity now, and I think Michael's going to share some of that with you. But let me give you his background. It's pretty cool. Michael Banks, founder, president of Body by Banks, right?
That's right.
Guinness Book World Record, largest Facebook Live boot camp in 17, right? It's pretty cool.
That was pretty crazy.
Chief designer of the Olympic Village facility for 2002 Olympics. We had that right here in Utah, right?
Right here.
Yep, designed that. He's been in CEO Magazine, NBC, Fox News. Probably see his products before in Walmart stores, as well as training programs. He's trained like news people like KSL, NBC News Team, you know, keep those news people strong, right? And they actually did a year-long documentary based off of that training and stuff like that, right?
Right, KSL.
He's also did some work for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which is really, really cool. And here's the crazy thing is we were both retail sales guys at Silo, which is kind of like Best Buy, right?
It is.
Let's
it is.
Best Buy. 3 decades ago.
Right.
And we'll dig into it a little bit, but what's just funny is like there was like 3 or 4 guys that we were kind of like the top salespeople in the organization.
In the country.
In the country?
Yeah, sometimes in the country. Yeah.
And this is the guy who actually taught me a lot of my actual face-to-face, people-to-people skills on that sales floor. And to let you know one more thing. So there was like thousands of salespeople there, right, across the country.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like one of the worst ones.
You were the youngest, too, though. You were the youngest, too, though.
But after hanging out with him and a couple other guys we'll talk about, man, I got to be in the top group of guys, though. And these guys, taught me everything. So thank you for your mentorship all these years. So let's just talk about maybe a few things. Let's talk about what you're doing now. What do you do now? I mean, obviously, you're one of the best salespeople in the universe.
That's right.
But you've developed that to some really great
Well, Dan, I've always said nothing happens until the sale is done. You can have the best product in the world. You can have the best service in the world. But nothing happens until that consumer makes a purchase. And so what I tell young professional trainers, you have to find a way to tell your story. Short, quick, and precise. And what happens in my space, which you would appreciate this, for years in the fitness space, fitness professionals had a hard time selling. They looked at it as though it was evil. You and I came from that background, the sales background. And so when I jumped into the fitness space, it was an automatic for me because I understood how to present a product or services with some integrity. But, what happens in my space is teaching people how to tell your story. I wouldn't know anything about Dan unless he told his story. And people love a story. But when you can actually package that with a product or service, it's a game changer. But here's the key. You can be the greatest salesman in the world, greatest marketer in the world, and you know this. But without this one thing called results, you gotta have results. Results are critical. If I'm investing in you, I wanna know what is my return on my investment? What's my ROI with Body by Banks? So over the years, the reason why I built my brand, and you built an amazing brand as well,
thank you.
Is by being able to show results. And I'll say things like this. I've gotten bold over the years.
You were bold back 30 years ago,
I was bold, but I was bold on the sales floor. But when your name's on the line, Silo was our brand then. We were representative of another company. But and it took me years to get here, Dan. But Boldness is powerful with conviction. Powerful. People will follow you, but you better produce results. And right now, I'll tell people in a heartbeat, give me 3 weeks and I'll change your life. And I sincerely mean that, without a doubt. There's no blink of the eye.
I follow your Instagram and you see all these transformations that are just crazy.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I'm having a flashback to 30 years ago. But guys, I want you to think about the state we live in. We live in Utah.
Oh, yeah.
And I came here from Los Angeles. And then,
Chicago.
where are you? Chicago, right?
Well, Joliet.
Yeah.
For all my Joliet people, Chicago.
So I was like kind of, you know, being Chinese American, I was like getting a lot of like kind of pre-frameworks of how it was going to be in Utah.
Yeah.
They're like, man, those guys all just carry guns and have cowboy hats and have shotguns in their car or whatever.
And they ride a horse.
Yeah. And I was like, great. You're going to have a good time out there, man. And I'm like, some of my friends from LA are just like, you're going to have a rough one, dude. I don't know why you're moving out there, you know. But, you know, I was a kind of a delinquent. That's why in LA, and my sister lived here.
I didn't know that.
She kind of adopted me, so.
Oh, okay.
Because I was a rowdy kid in LA. You know how it is when you're
in LA.
Big cities or Chicago. Right?
Oh, yeah.
But coming here was weird. And when I went, I kind of had this weird chip on my shoulder because I was kind of scared about how it was going to be. When I got in the silo, I was timid.
Yeah,
I
remember that.
But I looked at the top performance guy sheet, and it was you, like guy named Manny Chavez, Jason Robles. Yeah. I'm like, how are like 2 Mexican dudes and a black guy the top people out of like thousands?
Killing it.
Like, how is that possible? And I shared the story, if you watch my previous podcast, where, you know, I reached out to the guys on top of the list and tried to become their friends.
Right.
And it was cool because you taught me things. And I remember distinctly the number one thing that you taught me is, you know, smile, be warm, you know, agreeable.
Yeah.
Don't be scared. Just go out there. Don't be afraid to ask for the sale. Run their credit.
Key.
You know?
Ask for it.
You know? He's like, don't be scared to take their money. Don't be scared that they're going to be like judging you or whatever. Just like take care of them and make the transaction.
Right, because what I was saying then, Dan, 100 years ago, I do recall that. If you believe in the product, you're not selling anything.
Yeah.
You're just taking them through a procedure. Here's how you purchase that product.
Yeah.
And so back when you met me 100 years ago, by that time, I was on top of my game when it came to sales and products. I really believe in the product, big time. So I said, Dan, number one, make your difference work for you. Give you an example.
Okay. I'm going to take notes on this one.
Sure. I've worked with different people. I've consulted trainers, young professional trainers. And I recall this one incident. You'll like this.
Okay.
I won't name you. You're a good man. I won't name you. But please, I was consulting some trainers. I would go someplace else to work out. I don't like to work out where I train. Yeah. So these trainers would always say, Banks, body by Banks, you know. And, you know, they would see, they didn't really understand the hustle it took for me to get to where I'm at. Right. And I'm not where I want to be now as we speak.
You're just getting started, right?
I'm just getting started. I really mean that.
We always look at day one, right?
40 years overnight success. Yeah. But anyway, this guy with these trainers would talk to me about business and how did I do, and I can't believe I was charging when I first started, Dan. I think it was training was just starting. I think I was charging $15 an hour. And I told this story to these trainers. And these are all college graduates and certified, the whole deal. And I go, guys.
All the paperwork and everything.
Yeah, they'll do. That's the guys. You know, so guys, let me tell you something. Certification to me is important, but at the end of the day, it's only one thing: a license to compete. That's it. Certification is just a license to compete. So whatever your degrees in, whatever sales course you're taking, books you're reading, that self-education is critical. But remember, it only allows you to get in the game, okay? But once you get in the game, it's a whole different story. So I would consult these trainers about life, body language, smiling.
Yeah.
I did that.
That's a big one.
That's
like
a big
smile.
one with me, yeah. Because
you're never going like this with your head.
No.
You're always like,
right.
Yeah, man, it's
right.
good.
Well, I learned that because I was the only black guy in my space. Dude, I started training, Don, before it was called personal training. And a lot of things that happens is it's nonverbal.
Yeah.
And I back in those days, and I still do it. I can't tell you how much education is critical. Reading, listening to experts. I mean, you should bury yourself in that.
Yeah.
I was doing that back 30 years ago, longer than 30 years ago. But one of the things I found out is that I was different. Now, I can look at this two different ways.
Okay.
poor me, or I'm different, and damn it, I love it. Because what happens in sales, Dan? You spend millions and millions of dollars yourself every day, probably a year, trying to set yourself apart.
Yep.
We do it with logos, colors, slogans, everything.
Right.
Dan, we love you. That's you.
Yeah.
We love you. So, as an African-American male, my difference was already there. There's no one that looks like me. So again, changing the way we see ourselves is critical. So if I can say anything that's critical, write this down, guys. Our subconscious mind is so powerful. It's more powerful than our conscious mind. Give you an example. When I'm writing here today to interview with you, if I don't control my subconscious thoughts, it's controlling me. When you're writing or showering or washing, or whatever you're doing around the house, when you're alone, your subconscious mind is background music.
Mm-hmm.
We're so not conscious of that. Once I became conscious of my subconscious thoughts, I began to change it. Because the subconscious thought comes from culture, race, religion, ethnicity, city, everything, family. So I had to change that subconscious thought. Here's how you do it.
Okay.
Real simple. I'll always tell you what and how. Action is, today, I want you to do yourself a favor. Here's my challenge. Here's one challenge. I'm going to offer maybe 5 challenges. Here's one challenge. Write down what you're thinking about when you're thinking.
Write down what you're thinking about when you're thinking.
When you're thinking. Or make note of it. So if you're driving, make note of the thought you're having.
Okay.
You can't write down, just make note of it. And you'll be surprised how much negative self-talk we have based on media, news, the current situation in the marketplace, all these things.
Okay.
And we're continuing to play it throughout the day, and we don't even realize it. What happens then, we have a subconscious thought, our body language change. Give you an example. If I'm thinking negative thoughts or thoughts of self-defeat, here's how I shake your hand, Dan. Hey, man.
You're weak.
And your shoulders and your eye contact, and you don't have this vibrant in the eyes and this smile. And so years ago, before during Silo, back in the day, I was reading these things, and I would test these things out, man. And it was funny because life was opening up like this.
Yeah.
Sales were increasing. My dating life got better.
Yeah.
But
you always did well there.
well, no, let's not talk about that. But
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that I understood that I had been pre-programmed from a kid to think the way I thought. Some was intentional, some was not intentional.
So how did you break through? You talked about writing down what you're thinking. So how do you...
Change it?
Yeah, because you were completely different than a lot of people were attacking things
Right.
in the way that your attitude was, your physical stance, your confidence.
Right.
So how do people do that a little bit more once they realize they're thinking weird stuff?
You change it. So here's a scenario. Your dad's 92.
Yeah.
My dad would be 105 now, he's deceased. But if you can recall your parents talking to themselves, you ever see that? You ever see people talking to themselves?
Yeah, sometimes.
My dad did that, okay? Now, it was kind of weird at the time, but you really talk to yourself. For instance, Michael, no one's going to listen to anything you have to say. That's the old subconscious thought.
Oh.
Michael, here I say, you know what? I got so much to share with people. Look at the experience I've had, both with failure and success. But I'm going to tell you something. If I hadn't failed, I have no right to sit at this table and communicate with you. Mm-hmm. Failure, again, is part of the license to get here to have this conversation with you. Because if you've only had success, how can you teach me anything?
That's right.
Failure in this country, and I'm going all over the place.
Well, that's good. No, I got this.
Failure, Dan, unfortunately, if we would teach in school to our kids, failure is part of the process.
Yep.
It is the process. And you can't go to the next level until you experience this thing called failure. And failure only means when you quit and walk away. But we don't teach that. Some entrepreneur opens up a business and they fail the first 5 years, they quit. The first year they quit.
Usually,
when it gets tough, they quit. Because they're black or they're green, or well, I shouldn't say green, but black, woman, short, they quit. They start pointing fingers. That's part of the class you have to take.
So then they find a reason why it's okay to just give up.
They find an excuse.
Okay.
An excuse.
Excuse.
We all have excuses. But getting back to the trainer.
Okay.
all this adds up to the trainer.
Okay.
So I'm talking to this group of trainers, both black and white women, man, female. Black guy calls me. Hey, Banks, can I talk with you privately? Sure. He goes, now, guys, listen to this story. Real quick story. I'll make it quick. He says, man, I've been here for several years. I'm the assistant manager, and a general manager called and yelled at me for the store not performing as well as it should be. I think it's racist. And I listen. So all these trainers are gathered around, both female, male, black, and white, Hispanic. And they're agreeing with me, yeah, it's racist. I said, why do you think it's racist? Because she called me and she yelled at me about the performance of the store, and I'm just the assistant manager. So as he's talking, I had to make a real profound statement to him. I said, so what are you gonna do? What's your action plan? I'm gonna move to Texas or LA where I have a better shot. And you know what I said? But you're still gonna be black.
That's pretty straight.
He looked at me and goes, you're still gonna be black. No matter where you go in this world, you're still gonna be black. And he was kind of embarrassed, and I did that to shut the whole room down. And I said, you're asking me for my advice. You called me on my valuable time to come hang out with you, and I love hanging out with you guys because I was once one of you. I'm gonna give you a challenge, like I'm challenging your audience. I want you, since you're asking for my advice, I want you to get on the phone and call that general manager back right now. You're gonna say these exact words. Today, I take full responsibility of the store, 100%. With you, I know I can clean up the things that are happening here. He said I can't do that.
Whoa.
Ego. I go, well, you're asking me for my advice. You're gonna be black anywhere you go. And I'm challenging you to get out of ego, and it's time to grow. Here's a growing opportunity for you.
Yeah.
And there's so many growing opportunities for us as people of color. Mm-hmm. Does racism exist? Does water exist?
Yeah.
Yeah, it exists. But has it stopped you or me?
That's a great point.
Has it?
No.
I don't know. I think that guy has been around.
You told me when I was a timid little kid, you're just like, dude, like, what are you good at? Like,
Yeah.
show your personality.
That's right.
Don't be scared.
Right.
Go to people.
Right.
Show them the stuff.
Right.
They'll want to buy it.
Right.
Show them the big one first. Maybe
Right.
they're like, I want the big one.
Right.
If they don't want the big one, maybe the medium, maybe the
Right.
small one.
Right.
He's like, sell everybody everything and,
That's right.
and make sure they walk out happy and follow up and
That's
all
right.
these things, you know?
That's right. But I want to tell your story too, but at the end, because this guy, and don't mind me saying this guy came from ashes. Dan had nothing going for him.
I had $50 when I came here. But.
Yeah, but can I tell? So Dan was a little chubby guy, and he wore. Did you wear glasses, Dan?
Yeah.
He wore glasses, and your white shirt was always wrinkled. I never forget your shirt. I'm like, dude, tuck your shirt in.
I didn't know how to.
You know.
I'm not a dresser.
And so, I'll tell you a story later. Getting back to this kid, I go back in a week later, and he says to me, I can't believe you embarrassed me like that. I says, partner, I'm not trying to embarrass you. But it wasn't about you. It's about the people sitting around you. And I said, you'll still be black no matter where you go. And I said to you, call the general manager. He didn't call her back.
Oh, man.
And he says to me, and I'm almost in the story, he says, I go, look, I'm gonna tell you a little secret. If she called you and didn't call the manager, the white manager, I would be terribly upset if I was the white manager. She stepped over my head and called my assistant manager. So you know why I'm telling you a little secret? The manager's gone. You don't see it yet. He's gone. I came back a month later. This is a God honest truth. He said, Banks, let me introduce you to our new manager. Black kid from Chicago named Mike, 24 years old.
Oh,
and I go, he says, I came out here because I love skiing, and the general manager told me about a place that was opening up, and I said, sure, I'll take it. So Mike took a risk coming from Chicago to 90% white Utah to ski, and he's killing it right now. So the guy was coaching, I won't mention his name. He said, Banks, how did you see that? So I saw it a mile long, because the challenge is, let's say she didn't like you because you were black. What I was trying to get you to understand is she gets one thing. Let's say that was a situation that you can say, okay, that was true. Performance destroys all that.
Oh, yeah.
Her only concern was performance. She was mad that it wasn't performing the way it should be. You took it because you were black. She probably never even seen you. Yeah, she met me one time. She probably doesn't remember you. She's over the western region of the United States. I want to tell you the chain facility. So, but the one thing she complained about was performance. That's all. So listen to what she was saying and take that keyword and perform. If you would have called her back and says, Miss So-and-so, today I take full responsibility, because she knows that she's talking to the assistant manager. She knows her team. And she specifically called you. You know what she called you? She saw something in you. But you switched it to thinking it was racism.
Left that opportunity on that table.
It was called performanism.
Jeez.
There's such a word. And so she hired this kid, and the rest is history. And every time I see him, he goes, Banks, I'll never forget that lesson you taught me. Because, dude, I'm going to tell you something. Performance is everything. Performance is everything. Performance is everything. Results is everything. Everything.
Wow,
that was a lesson there.
That's massive.
Yeah.
So, you know what's interesting, in today's environment, there's a lot of uncomfortableness, right? So you see some of these people, they get labeled as virtue broadcasting or whatever they call it, right?
Right.
And then, so I would like you to give a clear mentor instruction manual to the white people out there, but also the black people and other minorities.
Sure.
In your view, how can they take whatever's going on now, and how should they respond to be helpful and create performance and results in the world?
Well, Dan, that's a real easy question for me. Let me tell you why. Because you said I taught you this years ago, but I doubt if I taught you all this. But we have to be sensitive to our clientele. A woman come in, now let's go back 40 years ago. A woman come in with kids, a shop for a washer and dryer. She's got kids running all over the place. You have to be sensitive to that as a salesperson.
Yeah.
Right? You understand? She's at a short amount of time, and her perspective as far as you can't show her the whole line of washing and dryer. She's got a short amount of time. Just being sensitive to other people is all that we're talking about. Now, I've had some of my friends, I hate to say they were white friends, but white friends call me and go, Michael, what should I do? I said, first it starts with education. It's education. When you wanted to learn how to sell, what did you do? You went to me and all those other guys and you say, how do I do this?
Because you guys all have making a lot of money and nice cars.
I don't know about making a lot of money, but we're doing it.
You guys are just the best,
And so if we're being sensitive to what's going on, we can't ignore something so sensitive as this thing, social, with what's happening right now with black and white issues. That is a very sensitive issue. And we can't avoid that. But we can be sensitive to it. And it's called performance. Again, if we're talking directly to salespeople, not going so far to embarrass yourself and stumble, but just if it's brought up, bring it up. Give you a good example.
Okay.
Let me give you an example of what I'm saying. I had a friend of mine call me and, hey, can I take you to lunch? I said, sure. He goes, this divide we're having right now, it's bothering me. And he goes, I want to know from you, I want to try to see the world through your eyes as a black businessman in Utah.
Okay.
And I said, first of all, I want to applaud you for taking this first step, having a conversation, trying to understand. And then, second of all, wanting to take action.
Yeah.
Again, action. And we talked about different scenarios. And I said, as a black person, there are things I've learned over the years in education. And I said to him, I go, I'm very comfortable around people that doesn't look like me.
Yeah.
The reason why you're not, because you're not educated. And our history books doesn't show people like me. We've been robbed. You've been robbed, and I've been robbed. I've been robbed because I need to see people like me in those history books who's made a difference. Yeah. As a kid now, I have hope.
Yeah.
You know, you've been robbed because you don't know anything about me. Now you're trying to figure it out. So I would go back and really get some education, study it, ask questions. Please feel free to, and also as Black people, we need to be comfortable with uncomfortable questions.
Oh, that's yeah.
Follow me?
Yeah.
And white people need to be uncomfortable with uncomfortable questions as well. It's all about being uncomfortable to figure out what's happening. Here we are in 2020, having a conversation about the color of our skin.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It disgusts me. Was I angry? 100 billion%. But it didn't serve any purpose. And I looked at it like another opportunity. We're business people.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an opportunity for me to educate my white brothers and sisters and just give them a little snitch of what it means to be Black in America and a businessman in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever, if I was able to give them some advice in reading material, action plan, reading material, and also some advice, now they're starting to learn the experience. To me, at the same time, Dan, you know this, and business people, we know this, when there's a problem, there's lots of opportunity.
Yeah.
Tons of opportunity.
That's right.
And it's not about dollars and cents. That comes with it. But at the end of the day, people are asking for an action plan. Michael, what do I do? Help me. So to me, to be able to sit down with a group of my friends that are white, I had lunch with a guy yesterday for 2 hours and say, hey, here's some things I want you to read and understand. Get back with me. What we're doing right now is we're finally having a conversation. And I'm gonna tell you something, you know this as well as I do. Change, there's a price to change.
That's true.
And I don't believe in burning buildings, that's stupid. Killing people, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, those things happen, I don't agree with that. To me, that's the sad part. The protesting, 100%.
Yeah.
This country started with protests.
Right.
Everything's a protest.
That's right.
If you do it right. I mean, thank God for Rosa Parks,
Mm-hmm.
a Black woman who worked her ass off the whole day. And she goes, I'll be damned if I'm moving the back of the road for you, white man. I'm going to sit my ass here. And she went to jail. That was protesting.
Mm-hmm.
But she's a human.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's right.
if we look at each other as humans, I think we'll get a lot further down the road. But I think we're living, even though it looks crazy, we're living in the best time right now. I really believe that. I mean, think about this. We've been shut in our house for 3 months.
Yep.
No sports, no entertainment,
Nothing.
no dining. All the parks are closed.
DoorDash.
DoorDash, yeah.
That's all we had, right?
And we're forced to look at this issue. Finally, we have to look at this. Because there's no escape.
That's
You know?
true, huh?
And unfortunately, there's been some things that's happened that I don't agree with when it comes to looting, burning up buildings, hurting people.
Yeah.
But we have to remember as Americans, we know protesting. This country was built on that. And if we do it right, things change. Right now, Dan, things are changing. In my spirit, I feel change is happening. You're going to see it. And I think it's a good thing. I don't like all the bad things that come with it. I love Christ, love God, but it's time for us to look at our history books and start all over.
Yeah.
It really is. Prejudice starts at home. You may not say, don't look at him, but just if you pull their hand closer, if you make a fake, kids see everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know the old story. Kids remember what you do, not what you say.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're around someone that doesn't look like you and you have kids, be careful, again, of that body language that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving off. Kids pick up on that. I remember my dad would do certain things. When he rubbed his head, it was time to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
I would copy my dad. He'd drink his coffee, he'd rub his head, I would rub my head. That means it's time to go to bed. You know, all my brothers rub their head down before we go to bed.
Yeah.
We can sit around and talk
Yeah,
at
same
9 o'clock, and we're all sitting there rubbing our head. We're learning from our dad. It's a behavior.
I have a question for you because, you know, I'm kind of in an interesting position how we grew up. My parents are immigrants from China, you know, and stuff.
Yeah.
But my dad told me a lot of times people have fear
Of the unknown.
of the unknown.
Right.
So they're not familiar, you know, I mean, I had fear coming to Utah, right?
Yeah,
I'm like, what's
I
going
did
to go on?
too.
What's going to happen here?
Yeah.
But it turned out to be way better than California.
Way better,
Like, people
yeah.
are really cool,
Yeah,
right?
Right.
So that fear of the unknown is kind of interesting. I experienced this right before times changed. So in the middle of COVID, everyone was like Chinese virus or whatever the crap, you know?
Oh yeah.
So like I'm at the grocery store, right? And then my daughter and I are just walking through there, you know, and then people are like going
Yeah.
different aisles and stuff.
Yeah.
But she's like looking at me funny, what's up with that? And I'm like, and I just told her, like, look, people are fearful right now. They don't know how infectious this is or whatever. And, you know, and whatever media is plugging in thoughts in their head of those preconceptions, people don't want to get sick.
Right.
I don't think we're going to get jumped.
No.
I don't think someone's going to, like, come up and give me a right hook or, you know, attack me.
You never know.
Maybe, but
There's some evil people out there.
really, most of it, I
Right.
felt like, was just
Ignorance.
fear-based,
Right.
and they don't know
Right.
what's going on.
Sure.
And so, but it was interesting because at that point, then she kind of relaxed.
Right.
We went around our shopping.
Sure.
Because I don't want her to walk around in fear. It's like, be prepared for the worst.
Right.
But,
Right.
you know, as her dad, I want her to be like, look, kind of like what you were talking about before is, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. What are you going to do? What performance are you going to create?
Right.
Are you going to dwell on that subconsciously, like you were saying, right?
Right.
And then have it so that you're not, like my daughter's an artist, right?
Sure.
You're not going to make art anymore?
Sure.
You're not.
Oh,
Gonna, You're
wow.
just going to sit there all paralyzed and
Right,
angry or something?
Right. Right.
You know?
That actually, most artists and most entrepreneurs, I'm speaking to the entrepreneurs only and artists, through tough times, we write the best songs, we
Yeah.
paint the best pictures, and we do the best work.
That's true.
When there's a fear factor, because we go back to what we know well, what we're passionate about,
Yes.
and we create some amazing things. And so, didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, this is great. I want to summarize some of your wisdom here, just to respect your time here a little. So I love this. And here's just a few highlights. Make your differences work for you.
Oh, it's branding. It's
Yeah.
true branding.
Stand out.
Well, again, go back to what I was saying, Dan. Companies spend, like you, millions of dollars a year to be different. If you happen to be a person of color, that's a plus. Especially
Do you
being in
remember
Utah.
during Christmas? And at first I was like, how should I take this? But at Christmas, people will go in and go, where's the Chinese guy? Where's the black
they
guy?
always said that.
Where's the black guy?
They
Where's
always
the
said
Chinese guy?
that. They always said that.
And then we're all like, he's right over there. And they're like, oh, I came in to buy a big screen.
Yeah.
Because it's Christmas
Yeah.
time and a
Yeah.
washer and a dryer.
That's right.
And
That's
we would
right.
just, people would look
That's
at us
right.
funny because we're just
Yeah.
writing people
That's
up.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Like, and I don't
Branding.
care. I wasn't pissed
No.
they were looking for the Chinese
But you
guy.
could have been pissed, but you didn't let it bother you because what you were doing is.
No, they liked me, man. They just want to buy a TV.
That's right.
Or a computer.
I think it's great when people call me, hey, the black guy, oh, that's me. I go, no, I love being black. It's okay. Call me black. That's my brand, one of my brands, I guess. So fine.
That earns loyalty too, right? Because
Absolutely.
they're always coming back.
Absolutely.
I remember for years and years, same people adding more people, adding more people.
Yeah.
They're like, what are you guys doing special? Or just take care of me. Okay, certification is a license to compete.
That's it.
So you got that certification or whatever it is, degree or whatever. That's just simply a piece of paper that says, okay, now you can.
Right. It makes you eligible to play this game called business.
The subconscious it has way more power than the conscious mind. Write down what you're thinking or notate what you're thinking, right? Because if you dwell in that, a lot of negative thoughts and stuff, that's going to come out in your actions, right? In your
Right.
body language, right?
Right.
You also talk about failure. That's part of the process. It's normal.
It is part of the process.
It's totally normal.
Right.
And I like this one, especially with your story about the personal trainer buddy.
Right.
Performance is everything. Results.
Everything.
Performance.
Everything.
And that removes a lot of misconceptions or anything.
That separates you.
I remember, though, there was this one lady named Debbie or something. They called her the Ice Queen. She was like...
No, that's Diane.
Or Diane. Or
I know her
something.
sister.
Really?
Body by Sandy is her sister.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
Sandy, she was.
No, I was thinking about, this is a silo.
Yeah, Diane.
And then
She drove a red Corvette.
when they do awards and recognition,
Yeah.
it was always like us.
Yeah.
Look at these guys, look at these
Yeah,
guys, look at these
yeah.
guys. But because of the performance, we
Right.
were always highlighted as the greatest
Right.
performers
Right.
in the organization.
Remember we used to call putting the beef on it?
Yeah.
Banks, come put the beef on it
Put the
for me.
beef.
Yeah.
That's just so crazy. It's
Yeah.
awesome. So where can people find you? Where's the best places to go?
You know, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I would go to Instagram for Body by Banks. And and I tend to post a lot, more motivational things, but also results in what I do. On Instagram, Body by Banks, and when you come on, mention Dan the Laptop Man. I don't know that you guys met me through Dan or Big Dan, something like that. I don't know it's Dan.
Dan's Millionaire Code.
Right.
Dan the Laptop Man. Those other alias. Right?
Dan, can I tell you a story real quick?
Yeah.
It's got me the story. I've been waiting to tell the story. Now, guys, you see this guy here. He was not like that when I met him. So when Silo went out of business, you know what this guy did? You're talking about a hustler. You're talking about a guy who understood service and performance. And correct me if I get the story wrong. Dan took the receipts from Silo, and he was a computer guy. And what's really funny is that when computers first came to Silo, everyone went to because he knew about him. We assumed he did because of his nationality. And so back in those days, it's a true story. Remember this, Dan?
Yeah.
I had a mouse. I was trying to sell a computer, and I called it a rabbit. And Dan goes, "No, Banks, it's not a rabbit, it's a mouse." But when Silo went out of business, Dan collected a bunch of receipts, and he got in this old, ugly car, and he serviced every one of those people out of his car.
Yeah.
That's how he started.
Call him up.
He was calling them up. He was hustling. So when Silo went out of business, talking about for a business opportunity here, what I said earlier, there's opportunity during tough times. Silo shut down, we all lost our jobs. Dan saw one opportunity, and he went after it. Here's my challenge to you. No matter what situation you're in right now, there's an opportunity that's waving his hand at you. Don't get distracted by the noise. Know it, appreciate it, but look for opportunity to serve people. Dan served people who had already purchased a computer out of his car, hustled his ass off. And now, I hadn't seen Dan for years. This is about 20 years ago. And I saw this thing called PC laptops. Dan the Laptop Man. I go, that's the little Chinese dude from Silo, Dan, you know. But I've watched his career, and I can't tell you how much it motivates me, because at one time we were at the same position. I knew this guy and I knew his hustle. All I can tell you about Dan, when it comes to relationships, critical, more powerful than money for him. When it comes to servicing his client, critical. But he got results, and here's where we're sitting at.
Oh, man.
So I want to say I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you too, man.
And man,
3
I
decades,
appreciate our friendship, and I've watched you. And they did call you the Chinese. What the Chinese guy? They call you
the Asian Chinese guy. Usually Chinese dude.
They called you. They did call you Chinese dude.
Yeah.
And I can remember you, dude, with those glasses and chubby stomach, and your white T-shirt sticking out of your pants.
No, I had a gut.
And I want to say to you, I can get emotional to think about it, bro. But you killed it. You're doing it.
You too, man.
And this guy's got so much wisdom. And I've seen him basically broke. I mean broke. You know, when Silo went out of business, we were
unemployed.
And I remember saying, I'm gonna do this thing, Dan, called Body by Banks. Like, yeah? I go, yeah. You know, and it wasn't personal training, wasn't even around. It was just starting to come to the mainstream. And when we left, we would kind of keep up on each other's career. And but man, I'm happy to know you.
This is the man who taught me to work out. Wow, he used to go to my house in the basement and be like, it's like you're gonna get your form right. Form's more important than just putting more weights.
That's right. That's right.
So guys, follow Michael, Body by Banks, Instagram, Facebook, right? And he'd probably be happy to, if you messaged him, right? And, or interested in some of his programs and things. He's incredible. But the results are in the pudding, man. The stuff that you taught me, from business to physical training and all that stuff almost a few decades ago, is still every day I think about it and I execute on it. So thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay. Hey guys, so I want you to watch this a couple times. He gave you guys and me some really amazing action items that we can do to make a difference in today's environment. Though I think it's super relevant. This is why I was really glad that you actually came. Now this is the first podcast that I've done face to face for like 3 months or something like that. We did everything, a few Zoom ones and things, but thank you for coming down. I appreciate you so much, right?
Thank you.
Guys, we'll see you next week on Dan's Millionaire Code podcast. Take care.
Godspeed.